Amy, are you home? Inquired Noah. I'm doing the dishes. How come you're home so early, Noah? Asked Amy. I have something to show you, Amy. Noah hesitated. What is it? Asked Amy from the kitchen. Noah put the little child down. Amy, look behind, said Noah. Amy looked behind, and a little child was looking at Amy with his beautiful silver eyes. Who is he? Asked Amy. I found him in the park. He was sitting alone on the bench. I asked him where his mommy is, and he said that he didn't have parents. His aunt left him there. She didn't want him. I felt pity for the child, Amy. So, I took him home. I hope you don't mind. He's just a little cute child, said Noah. Oh, Noah. You didn't surprise me. This isn't the first time you've taken someone home out of sympathy, said Amy, and began doing her dishes again. Noah lifted the child in his arms and took him to the room. He put the child in the bathtub and gave him a good bath. He dressed him in royal blue and white. Your eyes are so big and incredibly beautiful. I can't stop looking at them, said Noah affectionately. The child's eyes lit up, his lips curved upwards, and the way he smiled was so innocent and beautiful. Noah intended to adopt the child. He later discussed this with Amy. After some convincing, Amy agreed. Amy and Noah had been living together for 5 years. They didn't have any children. Together, they raised the child and named him Oliver. They sent him to school and got him nice clothes and good food. Time passed by and Oliver turned 22 years old. One day Oliver got late from his new job. When he was returning home on his bicycle, he looked up at the sky. It was full of bright stars. It was the first time he had seen such a shining sky in his city. It was beautiful but strange. He saw no one was out to see the sky like this. This amazed Oliver even more. Suddenly, he noticed a star falling on Earth. He rode fast on his bicycle and followed the star. It fell to the empty ground, where there were no houses near it. He went near the star and got off his bicycle. It was a small golden stone. It was shining brightly. He sat down and picked a stick from the ground. He shook the stone with a stick. Nothing happened. He lightly touched the stone with his finger. It was a little hot. He took up the stone and looked at it closely. Suddenly, he felt someone there. He quickly turned around and was surprised at what he saw. A beautiful girl stood there. Her hair, eyes, and clothing were all a golden color. She gave Oliver a lovely smile. Oliver continued to stare at her. Who are you? Asked Oliver. Who are you? The girl repeated his words. I'm Oliver, said Oliver. I'm Oliver, said the girl. You aren't me, said Oliver. You aren't me, said the girl. Oliver fell silent for a moment. He thought the girl was strange. She didn't belong here. She must have something to do with the fallen star. The girl suddenly opened her mouth wide, and her entire body turned to smoke. The smoke began to turn red. It flew up and down, and then straight towards Oliver's mouth. It entered his mouth, all of it. Oliver remained motionless. He heard a man's voice, a real man's voice. His eyes then closed, and he fell to the ground. The next day when his eyes opened, he was on his bed. Amy came in. Oliver, thank God you are awake. Are you feeling well now? Asked Amy. Yes, said Oliver. What happened last night? What were you doing on that empty ground? Mr. Henry found you there. He took you back home. We were so worried about you, said Amy. Mom, did you see the sky last night? Asked Oliver. What happened to the sky? It was the same. She became immobilized before she could finish her sentence. Mom? Are you all right, Mom? Why did you freeze? Asked Oliver. Oliver got out of bed. He tried shaking Amy, but she was as hard as stone. Oliver got worried. He ran out of the room, but Noah wasn't at home. He went outside and saw his neighbor's children playing on the ground. One of the kids looked at Oliver, and he froze as well. Then, the other children looked at Oliver and they all froze. Over the next 3 days, everyone who met Oliver froze, including Noah. Oliver was worried. He regretted following the star. He was hungry. He went to the kitchen and began looking for rice. He didn't know how to cook. But Amy had taught him how to make rice. While he was looking for rice, he saw a mouse. It ran behind the refrigerator. Then it came out from the other side. It stopped there. Oliver fixed his gaze on it. It ran under the table. Oliver pursued the mouse. The mouse came out of the table. It was eating something. Oliver wondered why didn't the mouse freeze. He went out into their little garden, where Amy had grown vegetables. A cat was sleeping in one corner. Oliver went close to the cat. He kept his gaze fixed on the cat. He took the stone and tossed it near the cat to wake it up. The lazy cat opened its eyes and examined Oliver's shoes. It looked at his legs before falling asleep again. Oliver sat down and awoke the cat again. The cat froze as it looked Oliver in the eyes. Oliver immediately understood it was his eyes that were freezing people. He assumed it was his entire body that was freezing people, but he was mistaken. He thought he should return to the place where the star had fallen. He took his bicycle and went to that empty ground. He began looking for that golden stone. He couldn't find the stone. He felt more hopeless. But he could not sit idly. He took his bicycle and went to Grandma's shop. Grandma's shop was run by an old man and an old woman. They were husband and wife. Both were in their 70s, but loved doing their job. The shop had not opened yet. Before knocking, Oliver put a blindfold on him. He knocked at the door. The old woman opened the door. "Who are you?" asked the old woman in surprise. "I'm Oliver, Grandma," said Oliver. "Oh, Oliver. Why are you covering your eyes, my dear?" asked Grandma. "I will tell you everything, but before that, can I come in?" "I need your help," said Oliver. "Yes, why not?" "Come in," said Grandma. Oliver went inside carefully. He could see through the blindfold a little. But he didn't look Grandma or Grandpa in the eyes. He took a seat on the couch. Grandpa entered the room with a cup of tea and some biscuits. "What took you here, Oliver?" asked Grandpa. "I am caught in a strange problem," said Oliver. Oliver told the whole story. Grandpa and Grandma went silent. They got worried too. "Are you both listening?" "I am not lying. Please believe my words," said Oliver. "We trust you, Oliver. But there is only one solution to this. You have to find that golden stone," said Grandpa. "And once you've obtained the stone, you must break it. When you break it, all the people who were frozen will return to normal," said Grandma. "How am I going to find the stone?" inquired Oliver. "You will not find it in this city, Oliver. Once the stone is used, it vanishes and fell somewhere else," said Grandpa. "What do you mean once it is used?" asked Oliver. "It is not an ordinary stone. In earlier times it was used as a weapon against enemies. Oliver, I cannot tell you the whole history right now, because you do not have much time. The stone should be broken within a week of its use. You have already wasted 4 days. You only have 3 days left, Oliver. If you are unable to find the stone in 3 days, you will turn into a golden stone forever. And all of the people you have frozen will remain frozen forever, said Grandpa. Where will I find the stone, Grandpa? Asked Oliver. Wait, we'll send you there. You can't go there on your own, Oliver, said Grandma. Grandma went into her room and returned holding a book. She opened the book and set it down on the table. She instructed Oliver to read the words on page 36. Oliver removed his blindfold and began reading the words. Take me to the world of stones, the world where magicians lay dead, and flowers never bloom. As he read the words, he vanished into another world. It was an island. The sky was dark blue, but the colors on the ground were light. The island was not very different from the islands on Earth. He wondered where and how he would find the golden stone on this island. For 2 days he kept searching for the stone. He only had 1 day left, and he was terrified. Another half-day has gone by. He felt hopeless. He couldn't find the stone anywhere. He sat under the tree and began thinking about what could be done now. He picked a small stick from the ground and began writing on the sand. He wrote the words he read to get here. Take me to the world of stones, the world where magicians lay dead, and flowers never bloom. He carefully read the words, and thought about the graves of dead magicians and the place where flowers never bloom. He remembered seeing a dried flower and 5 graves on the other side of the island. He stood up and ran fast to that place. He searched for the stone for the next 11 hours at that place. He only had an hour left. He sat beside the dried flower and began to cry. In his agony, he beat the ground and his head. He grabbed the flower and pulled it out of the ground. The stone came out with the roots as he yanked on it. The flower shoots were emerging from the stone. Oliver quickly picked up a heavy stone from the ground and broke the golden stone. As he broke it, he returned to his city. He ran down the street to his home. He saw Noah and Amy as they were before. He was overjoyed and hugged both of them.